Hello guys, in the previous video we have discussed about HTML headings, paragraphs and links, and in this video we are going to discuss about HTML images, how we insert images in web pages, how we insert videos in web pages, what are the formatting elements that we use, what are comments in HTML, and some more stuff. So let's get started. Now before we start with HTML images and videos, I will like to introduce you to absolute and relative path. So first of all, what are absolute paths and relative paths? As you can see on the screen, I have added the difference between the two. Absolute path is the full location to a file. Let's say you want to find a file. So the absolute path would be the path from the root directory or the home directory to the final location of the file, whereas a relative path is the path from your current location or the current directory which you are in to the file. For example, let's say you wish to go to your friend's house. For that, if you are going to consider the absolute path, it would be from your destination or the place where you reside in, from your house to the complete location or the complete path that you travel to go to your friend's house. Whereas the relative path would be, let's say you are standing in a park. From there, you like to go to your friend's house. So the relative path would be from that park, from the location which you are in to the location of your friend's house. This will be the relative path. So this is the difference between the two. Now let's get started with images in HTML. So for inserting images, we use the image tag. So in the first video, I told you to create a folder where we will add everything. We are going to add our files. We are going to add the HTML files which we are going to create, the files for the image files, the video files which we are going to use for our web page. I have created a folder inside it which is named as files_for_tutorial. So in this I have two images and a video. I'm going to use them. For using images, let me create a new file. I'm going to name it images.html. In this one, insert the boilerplate code. Name, instead of documents, I'm going to name it images in HTML. Here in the body, I am going to insert an image. For that we use the image tag, and the image tag is an empty element. You know what empty element is? I have discussed in the previous video. So this is the image tag, okay, and here in the source, as we have done in anchor tag with the href, which is the reference path, here in the source we are going to add the absolute path or relative path. While using live server, which is the extension which we downloaded in the previous video for creating temporary servers, while using live server, it is recommended to use the relative path of a file, because many people do face problem while using the absolute path while using live server. So we are going to add the source here. For instance, here I have this profile pic.png, copy it, and here you can see two options, copy path or copy relative path. This copy path will give you the complete address to your file. For instance, if I copy this copy path, the absolute path, and paste it over here, and I save it. Now the location of this images.html file, I have to open it in my browser. So here is the file. So this is how we used without the live server. Now let us go with the relative path. Right click on this and select copy relative path. Paste it over here, and this will be the relative path. Also remember that while you copy the relative path, do add a / at the front, because if I save this one without adding the / in the beginning, in the browser I see nothing, because the relative path must be added with this /. Save it, go to your browser, and you see this. This is how we use the image tag to insert images in our web pages with using the absolute path as well as the relative path. I hope that you are now clear with it. Now let us go with the attributes. Before that, what is this alt attribute? This comes from the alternate text. If sometimes your website or your browser is unable to find the location of your file, or if the location has changed, for instance, if I change the name of this file and add the extension as jpg, so if I save it, open it up with live server in the relative path only, you see that nothing occurs over here. Why? This is because we have changed the file extension, but .jpg file does not exist. So if you want that your image is available but it is not showing, and if you want to show some text instead of that image, then you can do it in this alt attribute. For instance, I am going to add image of profile picture. I save it and go to my browser. If it is unable to load this image, then you will see this alternate text, image of profile picture. And if I correct this thing, I add this png, I save it, go to my browser, then you are able to see this thing. So I hope that you are able to understand this alt text attribute. Now we are going to adjust the size of this image. So this looks quite large, isn't it? So I'm going to adjust the size of this by using the attributes which are width and height attribute. Let me add those attributes after this. So I'm going to specify the width as, let's say, 50 pixels, and it does not matter if you add this px thing. This stands for pixels because HTML by default recognizes this number as in pixels. So if I add it or if I do not add it, it does not matter. I'll show you also by removing it. And also add the height attribute. I wish to see it in the square format, so I am going to add the dot 50 for both. I save it and you can see that it is now of small size. And now what if I remove this px for both? I save it and I see no change. This is because px is the default thing. Now if I add percentage, and HTML will now recognize it as 50% per side of the square, since the image is in square size. If I save it, you can see this is the 50-50 size. This is the 50% of the screen size in the browser. You can see I can add another image over here. I hope that you now know how to insert images with using the width and the height attribute. Now that we are done with inserting images, we are now going to start with inserting videos on our web page. So to start with, let us create an HTML file. I am going to name it videos.html. Add the boilerplate code, change the name as usual to videos in HTML, and in the body we are going to use the video tag. So this is the video tag, just like the image tag. It is not an empty element. It has an opening tag and has a closing tag as well. So here in the source location, you will get the source location of the video. For instance, you can add the absolute or relative path. Let's use the relative path for now since we are using live server. So I'm going to click on go live, and the video source is this one, video for tutorial. This is the same video which I used for absolute and relative path. I'm going to copy the relative path, paste it over here, save it, go to the browser, and here is the video. But why isn't it playing? The reason is that we do not have any controls, or we have not added any attribute for the same. So if I add an attribute which is controls, this gives you controls on the video in your site. So if I save it, go to my browser, you can see down over here, you see the play button, pause button, and the length of the video and the timeline for the video. So if I click on it, this is how we get it. You can also go with picture in picture with the controls thing. From here you can go with picture in picture. You can play it from here. You can also go full screen with it, and you can also play or mute the volume. But since this video has no sound, it is not going to play any audio. But I'm going to add another video which has sound. So for that, I'm going to use my previous video, which was this one. I'm going to copy the relative path. I have added to my tutorials folder. I'm going to paste the relative path, and when I save it, go to my browser, I play it. Hello guys, in the previous video we have discussed about the basic. You see that it now has sound, and if you wish, then you can play it as muted. I add the attribute muted, save it, go to your browser, play it. You see over here, this is muted by default because I added the muted attribute. If you go to the inspect element, option, or you can even go to view page source, here you will see that it is the muted attribute. Although the video size is not appropriate, isn't it? So let us change the video size, and we use the same attributes, that are the width and the height attribute, which we use for the image tag. So going to add the width attribute, let's say it is 100%, and the height attribute as, let's go with 80%. Save it, go to your browser, and you see it over here. Still it is not that perfect, so we need to decrease the width a little bit. I believe 95 would be fine. So as a web developer, you will have to go with these things, like you will have to test the size of the things which you insert. Now, in this video we have discussed about the basic structure of HTML. Now let's reduce the height as well to fit it within. So I'm going to go with 75% of height. Save it here in the browser. So this is how we do it. We do use the width and the height attribute to adjust our video. You can also add an attribute which is autoplay, as of which the video will automatically play, and you see that it automatically played. I didn't click any button, but it played automatically. This is the use of autoplay attribute. So now I'm going to dispose the server. Now after this we are going to learn comments in HTML. So what are comments? Like, comments are not only in HTML but in many other programming languages such as Python, Java. So what is the use of comments? When you wish to add any node to your code and you do not wish that it executes with your code, or you don't want to run it, then you use comments. As in HTML, they will not be executed in your browser. So if I jump back to the index.html file which we created previously, and if I wish to comment this out, I don't want this block of text. First let's go live with live server, and this is how it looks without adding any comments. I wish to comment this thing out. In Visual Studio Code you have a special keyboard shortcut for inserting comments, which is control plus forward slash. So if I select this block of text and I press control plus forward slash, you see that it turned green. And to add any comment, you will have to use this opening angular bracket, exclamation mark, and double hyphens. And to close it, you will use double hyphens and a closing angular bracket. So if I save it, I go to my browser, you see that nothing is here. Only the thing which I didn't comment was this heading 1 tutorial of HTML and this horizontal line. So this is how we use comments in HTML. I hope that you are clear with it. And if I manually show you how we insert comments, you can use the opening tag, add double hyphens to the end, and an exclamation mark at the beginning as well. This is now commented. So give it each half of the screen. As soon as I save it, this will be commented out and will not be seen any further in the web page. Save it and the changes will be reflected. Although if I click on view page source, then you will see the comments in your browser. I hope that you got a clear picture of how we use comments in HTML. Now that we are done with comments, we are going to go with our formatting elements. What are formatting elements? You may want to highlight any block of text, like if you want to bold it, if you want to italicize it, if you want to underline it, if you want that it is in superscript, it is in subscript, how do we add it? So that's what we are going to learn in formatting elements. Create a new file, add the boilerplate code, formatting elements in HTML. So here in body, if I add any block of text, hello world, let's say I want to bold this block of text, and after this text I have the dummy text and I want to bold this text. What will I do? I use the bold tag. It is not an empty element, and we use the b tag for that. This is the closing tag and we are going to add it at the end of our statement. Open this up with live server and see, this is now bold. If you want, you can also italicize it. Let me give it at half of the screen real estate. You can also italicize it if you want, and for that we use the I tag, which is for italicizing. I cut it from here, I add it at the end. So this is how we italicize our document. You can also underline it. A block of text can also be underlined by using the underline tag. Select it, and it is preferred to use the nesting in a correct way. Like if you write bold first, then bold should be at the last, and if you write italic after the bold element, then italic should be before the bold element, like 1 2 3, and here we'll go backwards, 1 then 2 then 3. Okay, here we'll go in forward direction, and this here we'll go in backward direction, like 3 2 1 1 2 3. I hope you understood it. So as soon as I saved it, you see the underline over here. Now let's go with subscript and superscript. Let us go with a chemical reaction, or why not go with a formula of algebra. But in that formula we need to add an exponent or the square value over any variable. So how do we do it? We use the superscript for adding exponents which are over the top of any content, or we use the subscript which are seen as below a content. I am going to use the subscript. This is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. It is not an empty element, and let us add 2 over here. I wish to see the formula of carbon dioxide, and I am going to add CO over here and 2 over here. What will it do? As soon as I save it, you will see CO2, and 2 is in subscript. So you will have to add the thing which you want in subscript. For example, I wanted 2 here to be in the subscript of oxygen, so I added 2 after O. If you want A square, and if you will write it like this, it is going to display it like this. But if you wish to see this 2 in exponential form, and add 2 over here and save it, you will see A square over here. This is a subscript and this is for the superscript. So we are done with subscripts and superscripts. Now let us go with emphasis. If you wish to emphasize any line of text, let's say hello world, for that we use the em tag, and this is its closing tag. I'm going to add it at the very end. I save it, and you can see that this is now emphasized. You can also use the strong tag. Now these may seem to be look like bold and italic tags. Okay, you can also use a small tag to show small size of text. For example, if I write in this is small tag. If I save it, you can see that it is smaller than the other content. You can see that it is smaller than that of these tags. If I add the br tag again over here, you will see that the difference between the 3 tags. So I hope that you understood what I taught in this video. In this video, we covered absolute and relative paths. We covered HTML images, how we insert images in HTML. We covered how we insert videos in HTML, how we use the formatting elements: bold, italic, underline, small, strong, emphasize, subscript, superscript. We also learned how we insert comments in HTML, how we use comment. I also wanted to tell you one more thing, that HTML is not case sensitive. For example, if you use the br tag as such in small letters, then it will also work as same as you do with the capital letters. If I save it, you see that there is no difference. It is not case sensitive. HTML is not case sensitive. So that is it for this video. In the next video, I am going to teach you about tables in HTML. Thank you.